Welcome to the Stable-Minded Podcast. I'm your host, Bob Griffin, along with Gabby Greco. This podcast is brought to you in association with the Illinois American Saddlebred Horse Association. Before we get started, and if it's all right, I'd like to ask you for two favors. First, would you please just take a few seconds and hit that follow button for the Stable-Minded Podcast? That way, it'll be easier for you to find us next time, and we'll make sure that you never miss a new episode. Secondly, when you get to the end of this podcast, and I hope you listen all the way through, if you enjoyed what you heard, would you consider going to IASPHA.com, that's IASPHA.com, and consider becoming a member. Our members are why we do this, and your support and sponsorship makes projects like this podcast possible. Thank you so much. Today's quick episode came out of a discussion that my co-host Gabby Greco and I were having about why we were taking on creating a podcast for IASPHA. And although there are definitely more, here are the top reasons we came up with. Reason number 6 was the frustration created by the lack of attention and resources being given to the charter clubs caused by the all-encompassing and ongoing conflicts of the national organizations. We started to look to see what change we could make on our own at the local level. I think some of it too came out of during all the turbulence that we were having with the IASPHA and Louisville and USCF. And I said, I always felt kind of helpless and all that, or like there was nothing I could do about it. And it just so happened after I was feeling my worst about it, we had our IASPHA board meeting. And this is what I can do. This is where I can move away from the frustration and I can start doing something. Yeah. And so we were brainstorming a bunch of ideas and things that we could do. And this is one of those things.
Yeah. And our horse community is so small compared to the rest of the world. I mean, we're so small. And then if we fight in between each other, like we're fighting, if it's like this half and this half, I mean, united we stand and divided we fall. That's kept replaying that in my head. Like, can we just get along and kind of find a good outcome? And then also as being a young professional, I'm like, what are you guys doing to make it in the future better for us? Because we're going to have to keep these lesson programs going. We're going to have to keep these horse shows going. We're going to have to keep these training horses and these customers in here. Is this going to help us in the long run? I'm still confused.
Reason number 5 was that we saw the need for a place where a civil discussion could be had about a variety of topics and the multiple perspectives surrounding them.
We have to treat this podcast and our interviews as like a resource for other people, like locally or nationally. Because, I mean, some people be like, maybe people my age are like, I'm not feeling that way or whatever, or I am feeling this way. And then maybe there's someone else that's also feeling this way.
I was having a lot of discussions with people, and I was having discussions with people that didn't agree with me. And you know what? They were making some good points. It maybe changed my mind on some things. It sometimes didn't, but I understood where they were coming from. And was able to kind of stand in their shoes just a little bit. And I guess that's a little bit what I hope comes out of having these conversations with people, that there are probably as many perspectives of this industry as there are people who are in it. And I know mine's not right. Like, I'm not the be all end all. Mine's not even the truth. And being able to be exposed to those conversations is kind of fun. Reason number 4 came out of our test recording, where we realized, based on some initial feedback, that even in an everyday discussion, there can be a relatability and value in someone's experience. I knew that I had people that I wanted to talk to about something that they were good at. And then in doing that, you helped me, and we did this guinea pig podcast that was going to be nothing except for me being able to edit it and get it cut down. But that conversation turned out to be something that people listened to and heard something of value, and were like, no, that's going to be a podcast that we should publish. And that's the one we're starting out with. Reason number 3 was the need to strengthen our community. So many of us are tackling the same problem. It's nice to know that we're all in the same boat.
Like I said, strengthening our community and just making us, I feel like already IASPHA as a whole and everyone who attends IASPHA shows are pretty close, tight-knit in terms of horse show communities. Like everyone knows each other, everyone gets along with each other for the most part. And I think it's just maybe extending our conversations outside of the show. You can get stuck, everyone gets stuck in their little bubble on their farm, right? Like you just live in your own little world, but I don't know. I think it's just a good kind of thing to just listen to other people and hear if they're having burnout or problems. It's normal. It's not like you have a bad day that maybe 4 other people are also having a bad day. It's not a big deal. You move on, you move forward, keep going.
It was even in the discussion that I had with you. I didn't know how you got into this. I don't really know your background. But in having those conversations, I understood that we stand on very common ground. And there may be a huge age difference, but we're going through a lot of the same things. And may have dealt with it one way, but it was refreshing for me to hear that you deal with it in another way. And I have something to learn in that. Maybe the next go around, that's how I'm going to approach it. Anyway, that's what I hope comes out of some of these discussions. Reason number 2 was the need to inspire a path forward and create a future for our industry that has a place for each of us. In the end, the vote went the way it went. And whether we agree with it or we don't agree with it, this all has to move forward. And I was just having a discussion with somebody the other day, what does moving forward look like? Mm-hmm. I kept comparing it to when you're riding a horse that just gets stuck and locks 4 feet up. And you can turn it and use your legs and do all that stuff. And until you find a way that horse sees a win and that, it's got to be a little bit of a win-win. I kept looking at it there can't be winners and losers in this situation. We all have to find the win, and we've all got to move forward. And I wanted to have conversations, and I'm hoping that that's what this podcast does, that it is conversations about how we move forward and we look to the future, and you know what, we probably disagree about this minuscule 5% of stuff. We would all agree that we want the industry to grow. We want more people in it. We want people to have fun in it, and we want more horses, and all of these things just pull together. And lastly, reason number 1 comes from the voice in my head that keeps asking, who the heck do you think you are to start a podcast? And I would simply say, Gabby and I are the ones willing to do it. I have a lot to learn, and that's part of the fun. And the fun for you is getting to follow along as we do. We all have the opportunity to come together and to discuss and to hopefully leave each episode with an excitement to get to the barn and continue the conversation. It is our hope that through talking to people and exchanging ideas with them that we, as corny as it may sound, can create the change we want to see. IASPHA, its board, and its membership were born out of creating these kind of changes. IASPHA was founded to satisfy the need to promote, support, and celebrate the pleasure horse decades, yes, decades, before the show pleasure, country pleasure, western, hunt, and pleasure equitation divisions were recognized at a national level. In the IASPHA tradition of innovation and cultivation, we hope this podcast is just one more way to lead us forward to the creation of exciting new initiatives and the celebration of an industry we all love so much. Now put down your phone, pick up the reins, and we'll see you back here next time.